This is Monte Carlo International, 205 meters on your medium wave band. And now the sweetheart of the radio, ladies and gentlemen, Kenny Everett.
Now. It's time for the Beatle interview on Radio Monte Carlo International. Yes, friends, this is the road where I, Carlo, go into John's delicious 72-acre house deep in the heart of Ascot. Lovely place it is, and not only a beautiful house, but a beautiful studio as well. He's built for himself right in the heart of his home. A real 16-track recording studio that he's doing all his new stuff on. He's still doing super stuff. It's not as jolly as his last lot, but that was with the rest of the group, you see, as you will soon find out. Still, to show you the contrast between yesterday and today, here's a few of his old things that he wrote himself. Yes, friends, that's our Vera Lynn there. John Lennon with two of his own compositions from the Sgt. Pepper album. But now, over to Ascot. Well, listeners, here we are in John's luxurious 72-acre studio, here built into his home in Ascot. We are, seeing as this isn't television.
Yes, we're in the studio, 5 by 8.
Now, why did you buy a studio in your own house when you've got one in your office as well? In fact, how many have you got?
Well, the one in the office hasn't been finished. See? And that's going to be 16-track, and this is 8-track. And it just means you can record when you want. And you can go to bed.
Well, a cup of tea. If ever you feel during this interview like coming out with an original song recorded just for Radio Monte Carlo, please feel free.
The man who broke the bang in Monte Carlo.
We'll have to say,
Oh my God. Well, tell us about your LP, John. Seems not to be as jolly as your last ones.
as jolly as what?
Well, all the rest of them.
Well, such as
Revolver, Sgt. Pepper.
Oh, well, that was the group effort.
What do you reckon you're the sad member of the group?
Well, I wouldn't say that they're all particularly much happier than me, but they might emphasise the happier side, that's all.
Are you thinking of doing a jolly album?
If I feel jolly, you see, I mean, I was sort of going into the things that I wrote about on the album, so they weren't particularly jolly, they were just sort of more just like life, you know, life isn't jolly, it's a bit of both. The album is a bit of both, you know.
Seems to be mostly centred around your childhood.
Well, yes, it is. But that's true, Kenny. Very good. But the thing,
he susses his facts, this interviewer.
he's now disrobing his suede gauntlet.
Well, every time a movie goes... So, I'm taking it off.
Anyway, but it's not unusual for me to write about childhood, because there were a few old tracks of the Beatles I did about childhood.
Like?
Well, the middle eight to She Said, when I was a boy, everything was right, all that bit. And Help.
Oh,
I was younger, so much younger than today. So it's not surprising. And sad songs I wrote then. You know, I'm a Loser, and I can't think of half of them, but it's not extraordinary, you know.
Track by track, let's go through the LP. What's the first track? Mother.
Yeah, well, what about it?
Is that about your mother?
Yeah, but it's really about most people's mothers, I reckon, you know.
It can't be all as bad as that.
No, but I think you don't need to take it literally. The mother I had, you never had me, meaning my mother left me or my mother died. The fact that lots of people say yes, for instance, had their mother all their life and had them with them, but they didn't have, you know, literally enough love from them. You know? Well, lots of us suffer that, because, I mean, parents have got their own hang-ups and see...
But it's good to have parents that aren't too much, because then they kick you out of the nest and you've got to forage.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, it's just that maybe the last generation, you know, they were Spock or whoever, Dr. Spock or somebody would say, oh, don't feed them by the breast, you know, it's not on, you know, it gets fashionable to not touch the child, you know, which I don't think is very good for them.
Yeah,
so things like that, you know.
Yes.
You didn't have enough of mummy.
Oh. But you should be the happiest man of the century.
Why?
I mean, you've been through all that hell and damnation of being dragged up by the heels to the heights of stardom. And now you've sort of secured yourself in your own little studio, in your own huge house, in 70 acres of delightful scenery. So let's have a jolly LP, John.
Thank you. Something like that, you mean?
Yeah, that'll do.
Ah, yes. Well, on the next track, we've all right on, folks, was Hold On, John.
Well, what was that all about?
It was about... like that, you see.
Well, there must be something spectacular happening to you.
Well, I am being sued. That's pretty spectacular.
Oh.
But we're not allowed to talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
Hold On, John. So that was just about holding on, you see. Even though it's not all that hot, let's hold on.
What is your favourite track?
I don't really know, you see. I like Working Class Hero, but I like as a song, you know, as a poem or whatever it is. I like Isolation just to listen to.
Yeah, that's pretty.
And I quite like Remember, maybe parts of Guardian. I never have just one I like, you know.
Love seems to stand out like it was written ages ago on that album.
It both was written at the same time, you see. So that was, I mean, that's a pretty... it's not a miserable song at all, is it?
No, it's lovely.
Right.
Now, what about this latest record of yours? I mean, you can't really mean power to the people like my mum and dad.
Yeah.
But my dad wouldn't know what to do with it.
No, but it's like saying, you know, imagine there wasn't any government and somebody says, we'll vote a government in, and you're saying, you don't expect my mum and dad to vote, do you?
But that's the ones they've got in anyway. I mean, they've been at it for hundreds of years now. They must have it right by now.
Do you think they got it right?
Well, as right as you can get it on Earth.
Well, that's the only chance you get. Well, if you don't get it right on Earth, where are you expecting him to get it right?
Yeah, but you've got to have bad bits to make the good bits stand out.
Well, that's sure. I mean, you get that with you know, irrespective of government. You get that just as a person. Everybody has ups and downs, like. But I just think people should have more say in what goes on.
Can you see a better world emerging? Because it doesn't seem to have got any better or worse since it started.
I can't see it, but there's no harm in striving for it.
So you're blindly striving for a better world?
Well, I wouldn't say blindly striving. Not blindly.
That was Not Blindly by John Lennon. Do you come in here of all times of night? Like if you feel an inspiration coming on, do you pop into the studio and do it?
No, I prefer to stay in bed. No, the point is that still at the moment I need engineers, so I have to book, you know, to get people down. But at one stage, it should be possible to, for the engineers to set it one night, and then we just press a button, it all does it automatic. Then I could pop down in the night.
Do you think you work better with a lot of no people around?
A lot of no people?
You know, in EMI, whenever you record there's a million people staring.
Not always, but less people the better.
So if you came down here on your own, you'd write some orgasmic material.
Well, I wouldn't probably write here, you know. I mean, I write just anywhere.
Give us a startling fact.
I'm 30.
Oh, yeah?
That's startling, isn't it?
I'm only 26. You remember when you were 26? What was happening?
No, probably on tour.
You seem to be enjoying it while it's happening.
Some of it is good, some of it is bad, like anything.
Let's do something spectacular for our listeners.
Hair shirts.
It's funny to think that people used to think in the old days that by wearing one of those you got rid of all your sins.
A hair shirt.
Yeah, well, all the saints did it, didn't they?
And then the next track was I Found Out.
Do you think you'd ever become a complete and utter hermit?
No, I couldn't do that, you know.
What would you miss?
People.
Oh, you still like people?
Oh, I like them very much.
Do you think you're less popular nowadays?
Than when I was a Beatle?
Yes.
I might be.
You Does it matter to you?
Well, it's not nice to be disliked.
But I mean, have you not thought about it?
Not thought about. Well, that'd be dreadful, wouldn't it?
I'm asking you.
Well, you know it. I mean, who was the one that picked up the musical papers, ladies and gentlemen? He said, it's not worth reading about when I'm not in.
And you agreed, you rat.
I agreed with that, so that answers your question. It's fun to be talked about in a way.
Yeah. Is most of what you read about yourself true?
If it's a personal interview with me, it'll be, pretty well true. Typing errors can change the meaning of things, but it's pretty well true. It's written about me. Well, it's usually just rubbish,
Why don't you write a book about yourself?
No, I'd sooner just make records and that, I mean, I'm not that old, but I'll do it when I'm old,
How can you see your life developing in front of you?
I can't. If you'd asked me 2 years ago, I couldn't have imagined what was going to happen. So I wouldn't even attempt to guess. Isolation.
That would have been a single, I think,
Well, I think George said that. Oh, he liked it best.
I think a load of people around that are collecting, like when we were having a cup of tea, there were 2 people listening to the radio to see if they were playing your
Oh, no, that's Val. Live out the radio on whether we've got stuff out or not.
Oh, you don't listen to it when you're on the radio?
Oh, I do. Yeah, I mean, I have a radio somewhere else, but that music you heard, Val listens to that day and night. Val's the housekeeper.
It's a pretty big house, this, isn't it?
It's not as big as it seems when you first get here, When you first walk in, you think, Jesus, But it's like a large version of a small house, meaning that there's not that many more rooms except for this office section.
Yeah.
In the living section, it's just like big rooms instead of small.
Who did it belong to before you?
I don't know. I think somebody, Cadbury or other, had it. A few people have had it.
You're still friendly with the rest of them?
Well, yeah. I play billiards with Ringo and discuss records with George.
Oh.
I mean, of course, we're seeing more of each other now with the going on. So, in a way, that Ringo, George, and I closely together again. We have to sort of spend hours on different things. So we're pretty damn friendly now.
Good. So I'm sure there's a million people out there that would love to see you all jangling away together again.
Well, it's like 90% that George, Ringo and I would record together again. Maybe not as Beatles, under that title. But, like if I wanted a guitarist to play with me, I would ask him. Same as I asked Ringo to play drums.
Is there any one of the old artists that you would like to play with?
I'm too sort of shy in a way to play with people I admire, like B.B. King or... I might do it if I was there, but I don't do much going around to other people's sessions.
What do you think of all the violence that's flaring up all over the place?
I mean, London's violent compared with Dublin or something, so it's all...
Not at the moment.
Silly things to say.
Shake hands with your uncle, Mr. Boy, and there's just a stick of down there, they're going you. Bring the phone,
Tell me, John, why are you still plugging this album? Because it's been out for an awful long time now, hasn't it?
Because in the early days of it, they wouldn't play on BBC or anything.
Why not?
I don't know, probably they thought every line and every lyric must have had something in it, But so I didn't get many plugs.
That's because I wasn't there.
Right. They shifted all the oddballs off, didn't they? So that's a reason to keep playing it.
When shows are segmented into 1 hour slots, most of the DJs want to just play the jolly, bouncy, popular stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, it was literally not played, as a policy at one time, and that didn't do it any good. That was when it was first out. And people do have to hear something before they...
What do you think the answer is? Radio as it is at the state?
Yeah, it would be great.
Lots of stations, right?
Yeah. I mean, bring back the Pirates, for God's sake.
Oh, it's too lonely out there.
Is it?
12 people playing records at each other for 2 weeks on end.
But it was good for the listeners, anyway.
Yes. You're surrounded by an entourage, aren't you? 2 for yes.
Well, it depends what you mean. Actually, I have 4 people that work for Yoko and I. We have, which is 1 a driver, 1 a housekeeper, an assistant, a secretary, and another guy that comes from Apple. So I suppose that's an entourage.
On the way
So we have a lot of business going on, you know.
Yes, you seem to be rushing ahead with things, don't you?
Well,
It's a hive of industry, this place.
but I like working, you know.
Mm.
So I mean that's about all there is to do, really, unless you just lie on your head all the time.
You're very fortunate, really, in a way, that you can now do exactly what you want, can't you?
Almost. I mean, but that's what I was working for.
Well, you had the studio in mind from the start.
No, but to do. I mean, the only reason to try and sort of get money or financial security or whatever it is so you can do what you want.
Yes.
But we're pretty tied up, you know, in a way.
How?
Well, with contracts and things like that.
Don't say why not to this question. You're wearing a badge, a Mao Zedong badge.
Oh, yeah.
Why?
Because I like the look of it.
Well, aren't you frightened that when you appear in the newspaper with that badge, everyone will rush out and start reading him and thinking he's a groove?
They won't do that. I mean, you're still under misapprehension that just because I do something, everybody will. I mean, we've agreed I'm less popular. So people don't do what I do. I mean, I've also worn American flags or I like bits of badges, you know. And this is a nice one.
It is nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's sort of reddish and with his head in the middle. What's the next track?
Love.
Oh, yes, that's
With the fading intro we did so low you can't hear it on the radio. That's this one. So that was pretty happy, wasn't it?
Yes, that was nice. No, it wasn't. It was sad.
Well, I mean, it wasn't miserable.
Are you, when Paul does a single, do you rush out and buy it and then think, right, I'll get it?
Right, he's on Apple.
Do you listen to it and think, the rat, I'll get it with my next single?
No, I don't. I just listen to it, you know.
And what do you think of the sort of stuff he's doing lately?
He's done better.
Since what?
No, he's done better stuff than the stuff he's doing now, you know. It might be because of the situation or something.
If you had Sgt. Pepper in one hand and your LP in the other, which would you listen to first and more eagerly?
Well, obviously, the one I made.
But you were chiefly responsible for Sgt. Pepper, weren't you?
Well, no more than others.
So you'd rather have something that you've done by yourself than...
Yeah, I mean, when we were Beatles, you know, I mean, we'd always prefer our own tracks unless there was something specific, you know.
So you never completely wrote together?
Oh, yes, but I mean, each individual Beatle would prefer different tracks.
Have you ever heard something released on the Beatles? Wow! I must do something like that.
Well, I don't know about I must do something like that, but I've enjoyed stuff Paul's done. Obviously, I mean, we all had respect and enjoyed each other's music.
Do you think you'll ever have tea with him again?
Sure.
So when the fuss has died down, you'll rush at each other?
I don't know about that, dear. I don't know about that. But, I mean, there's no doubt we'll see each other. Yeah.
So will the world reverberate to another Lennon McCartney composition?
I doubt it, because we weren't writing all that much together for the last couple of years anyway.
Have you ever considered suicide?
Well, yes, as a teenager even. I mean, I think everybody sort of thinks about it. You know, I don't remember standing on the edge of a cliff and making, you know, being that near, but I've considered it. Most of us have been through that. Most of us have been through something with mothers and fathers. Most of us have been through something with religion or not with religion, but, you know, whatever. Most of us have been isolated or been in love. Most of us remember things, so that's, you know, it's casual remembrance. And most of us have wondered about what love is, you know.
What is it?
Love is real. Love is lovely. There's lots of things that your mind blocks off memories from the childhood, you know, because when you're a child you can only take so much pain or whatever it is. So when something happens you tend to block it off and not feel it, you know, and it almost, in a way, literally blocks off part of your body.
But that's the bit it doesn't want to know about.
Yeah, but it's like not wanting to know about going to the toilet or having a bath. But if you don't do it for a long time, it accumulates, and emotions are the same, you know, and you accumulate them over the years, and they come out in other forms, you know.
Not like violence or something.
Well, violence or, you know, baldness or short-sightedness, something like that. That's part of his theory, you know. It's pretty revolutionary, I think, the idea, but from the experience I had there, it seemed pretty valid. There was a good basis for that theory. And so what you do is is go back, or find a way of going back to those emotions that you blocked off, and you remember things you didn't remember, and experience that emotion because it's still there. It's like taking a diarrhea pill or something, and it all comes out, baby.
Are you afraid of death?
No, I'm not afraid of it. No. I don't want to die. Dying nicely would be all right, like quietly. It's no bother at all.
In your own studio.
Taping it and filming it at the same time, something like that.
Right, what's the next one? There must be one left.
Oh. Well.
Right, here it comes. Do you like Yoko's singing?
I'm pretty influenced by her singing, because if you hear Cold Turkey at the end of it, ladies and gentlemen, the RPA 69 out now, if you hear Cold Turkey at the end of it, I'm getting towards singing, or letting the voice go as much as Yoko does, but not quite. But on Well, I let it go.
What is it? You're just shouting the way you feel? Is that what it is? I don't get it.
Almost. I mean, it's the same as Shout and Twist and Shout or Tutti Frutti, only just missing the words, just don't say anything. I mean, because Tutti Frutti Wop Wop Balloon never said anything in literary terms. And Yoko does the same, she just takes a word or an expression or an idea and just works around it. It's like a sax playing it, like an instrumental. Anyway, I was telling you.
Oh, yes.
So, Yoko's doing with her voice what instrumentalists have done over the past 50 years with their instruments, but she's doing it with her voice. Why, here's Yoko herself who would do some explaining of the problem.
I think we're saying a lot of things in our minds that's too heavy to come out as clean sentences,
Mm-hmm.
Like I always feel like I'm stuck in my mind before I say something. But, because of our sort of cultured and refined background or something, we do manage to say something in a very smooth sentence, like, how are you, Kenny, or something, But maybe in my mind I'm saying, how are you,
People listening to your side will never think, oh, she's trying to say so-and-so. They'll just hear the sound of it.
Well, but what you're trying to say in your mind is not that specific. It's more like emotional and it's all abstract,
But people are clamouring to think, what is she saying? What does she mean?
But it's the same thing about when they go in abstract art and that, and they started showing that you go in any sort of middle class directing tone or whatever, and they have their abstract, but it's the same.
Cafes,
Like...
restaurants.
Yeah, they slap his
Woolworth probably. Well, so, it used to be all that, I don't know what I like, but I don't like that, But it's just abstract. It's like, anyway, another point is that instead of when you're drowning, which we all are half the time, you don't say, will you consider possibly helping me to a degree that would save my life? You just go, so that's what she's doing.
Basically a sad chap, John, I thought. Well, we're out of the studio now. Lovely house they've got, beautiful grounds, 72 acres, and they're very happy together. And that's the latest bulletin. Very courteous couple. She was knitting in the control room while we were doing that interview, and he was strumbling away on his guitar. And on that little note, folkies, with lots of good stuff coming from out of his studio, I think, in the next couple of months, it's goodbye from Radio Monte Carlo, and from me, and from Tommy, and from Dave. And we'll all be back very soon when all this problem's sorted out, and Radio Monte Carlo will burst forth again on us from some other direction. What do you say, John? Well, friends, we'll be back again soon, so keep your radios tuned. Thank you, Kenny, very much indeed, and what a pleasure. Thank you very much indeed. Kenny Everett, along with John Lennon, Paul McCartney, Edward Heath, Harold Wilson, and of course, Papa Clifford. Guest stars galore here on Radio Monte Carlo International.